We see that financing is still very difficult. All the core assets are financed, but in different ways, and like every different investor does it on his own way. But we see that non-core assets are very hard to finance. I always say if you have a box with 10 dots, you have to be able to point at. If one of the 10 doesn't fit, then it will be very, very hard to find debt financing or some other kind of equity to make the deal happen.
But then I would say if you are not able to finance your project, it's just the wrong project. Because what we see is the moment your project is good, you have tenants, you have investors not willing to do a forward funding, but to have a turnkey delivery of the project. And if all those kind of qualities are in the project, you are still able to finance.
But then you can sell it to an equity investor. So those projects will be bought by investors because that's the top of the market. But in general, I would say yes, financing is a problem because we are deleveraging at this moment in the market. Also in the residential market, in the owner-occupier market, we are deleveraging, and that's why there's not a lot of possibilities in the banking sector to finance. And also the banks are deleveraging.
It is a major obstacle. In the development market in the Netherlands, there are officially 3 banks left who will do development finance. In reality, it might be less than 3, which means it is an obstacle. In the investment market, we see relatively little issues bringing foreign equity money to the Netherlands. But we see kind of big obstacles again in trying to marry that equity with financing. Even if one is looking for kind of low LTV financing, banks are very, very reluctant to finance portfolios, and they're even more reluctant to finance when the financing is used to, in their eyes, refinance someone else's problems. So if the seller is financed by another bank, then a bank is extremely reluctant to bring in new financing. So it's a big obstacle.
I think it will not change in the coming years. So it's actually a new norm, to my opinion, and we have to deal with it. And we can see it as a problem, but actually it's a challenge. And what we see abroad is that new finance providers came to the market apart from the banks, and maybe that's something we also need in the Netherlands. But it's a new norm, to my idea.
Are we seeing much activity in terms of the non-bank lending? Is that beginning to appear from the debt funds or from the equity side coming in to take up some of that area? Are you seeing that, Jeppe? Or?
I would say not yet. There's evidence in the larger European financing markets in Germany, in France, and the UK of this sort of money coming to the market. But mind you, the money from the insurance companies mostly seeks to replace the sort of financings that would have gotten financed anyway. So the sort of financing they look at are prime core financings, low LTV. So there's more of a crowding out effect than a sort of add-on effect. And then even more, many of these players are not ready yet to start looking at the Netherlands for all kinds of reasons.
Dick,
yes, in the financing market, we also see a growing number of mezzanine funds. We also invested in some of these funds, and they give a good return. There's also a high loan to value, so that solves the problem for the market. But it's high risk, so you have to make a risk budget for that. But I think it's in this time a good opportunity also for institutional investors to invest in mezzanine funds.
It differs from project to project, and we also try to find new funding sources. It can also be that, for instance, the contractor of the project arranges the finance to get the project done. But we will never start a project before the end investor is in place, and it is possible that the end investor does the forward funding, so they pay during construction. But if that's not the case or not possible, for instance, a contractor might finance a project, or we put our own equity at stake and find some other funds to get through the process of constructing a project. Different sources can be found.